Hello everybody, and welcome to the Fictional Fantasy Fight number 4. Today we got Yujiro from Baki the Grappler against Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star. Should be a really good one. Both these guys are the strongest character from their respective universe, and that's why I chose them to fight each other. Kenshiro is one of my personal, favorite characters in anime and manga, as well as the whole Fist of the North Star universe. It's one of my I have a lot of knowledge, I think, on this one. I've watched the entire anime, a good portion of the manga. The other manga I guess I would be really familiar with would be Rurouni Kenshin. That's the one I've read. So, if you guys have any ideas for fights you want me to do, those two series are great ones. So, though you can just throw out anything. I'm pretty well versed in DC and Marvel, all sorts of other, fictional things. So anything you guys just want to see fight. They can be from movies, but comics and manga are probably the areas where I'll have the most knowledge of who's who. And those aren't the only mangas I've read. I mean, I've read, like Naruto or, other, all sorts of different ones, Yu Yu Hakusho, and, stuff. But those are the ones I've read pretty much all the way through. I've read almost all of Yu Yu Hakusho. I've read some of Baki the Grappler, the third volume, I think, of the third storyline, the Ogre, some of the Ogre. I've read that story arc a lot, and it's pretty good, I guess. Alright, but let's get back to the fight. Jiro's basically, let's talk about him first. He's the big bad guy from the Baki the Grappler series. He's leagues above everyone else in that universe throughout. That's kind of like the whole story is just Baki getting strong enough to fight him. It's kind of a cool concept. It's kind of been done in things before. I think Ryu kind of is like that in Street Fighter, but with Akuma. But that doesn't really take the center stage, really. A lot of times, usually Bison's like the main bad guy in that. But this is definitely the big thing in Baki the Grappler. He's always trying to get stronger to beat him. And it's kind of neat the way they do it, because you don't even know, like early on when I was watching, I think I was watching the anime originally, like you didn't know how tough Yujiro was compared to everybody else. So it was like, everyone just said he was tough. And then when he did fight, he only fought people that, he fought Baki, and I think he fought Hanayama when they were hurt. They were they fought to a draw and pretty much knocked each other out. So it's not really that impressive if you can beat people that are already down and out. It's not until you see, I think, Baki's first fight with him that you see he's on a whole nother level. It'd be Baki was punching him with everything he had and couldn't even hurt him. So he was something completely else to them, and that's kind of like the story throughout. There's always some opponent that shows up that seems really tough and talks he can beat Yujiro, and you get this fight with Baki, and Baki usually will always end up winning, and then that guy will end up fighting Yujiro afterwards, and he'll get beaten super easily, whereas Baki had usually a hard fight. So it's kind of like the thing throughout. It's kind of cool. He has some of his feats are actually stopped like an earthquake with a punch. It's kind of weird. Really stupid. It may have just been a coincidence, really. There's not much really to it. It was just kind of silly. You don't really know if he can do that, again or anything. But he does other things. He beat a giant monkey when he was a kid. He took down all sorts of world-class, super fighters, basically all at the same time in this tournament that was in it. All the losers, he fought them all at the same time. And he even will mock people. He would beat a boxer, world-class boxer, by just boxing him, even though he's boxing's probably not even his main style. So that's just Yujiro. He's just so much better than everyone else, and the whole thing he's trying to do throughout the whole series is just to get Baki at a level where he can fight him, where Baki can give him a good fight. Another notable thing is, I guess he beat the United States or something. They kind of say he did. It's kind of weird. It's kind of one of those kind of fishy moments. Kind of I don't know what that means. Did he fight the whole army and beat them? Did he just invade the White House or something like that? I don't know. It's kind of silly. He doesn't really seem that powerful technically in the series. I think he gets knocked out by tranquilizer darts at one point. So I'm surprised missiles and stuff like that don't kill him. If they really wanted to take him out. But it's kind of whatever. It was just it felt kind of it just felt kind of silly to me, when they started doing that. But unless he was an amazing mercenary fighter, out in the jungle warfare thing in Vietnam or some wars like that, where he fought as a mercenary for the United States, which was kind of interesting. Let's see here. Other neat things Yujiro's done. I know he beat a giant mammoth or elephant kind of that was extinct. And he's done some other big feats, kind of like that. He's caught like an arrow that was shot at him from this like a really powerful bow, which was impressive in its own right. But today's going to be up against Kenshiro. Kenshiro, his abilities are pretty impressive too. He can kill basically by hitting people's pressure points, and like he knows where like they are. Most people don't know where their pressure points are because they don't study them. It's the secrets of Honto Shinken. Very few people know where they are. But so he can basically kill with a touch, almost like if he lands a punch, he usually will kill his opponent. 99% of the time practically. That's the end of the fight. And the things, Kenshiro can become extremely durable. He can make his body harder than steel. To the point where even like Nanto-Seiken guys say that it's his body's pretty durable and they can cut through like almost anything. Other abilities, he has Musu Tensen, which he gets from like being able to sympathize with, I think, with people and have experienced true sorrow or something, where he becomes intangible and immune to basically all physical attacks, and he can still kind of attack from it. Just a completely like over OP kind of ability right there. And I think he's super fast. He can go a long time without eating or sleeping. Just other little things he can do. Kenshiro gets a lot more feats though than Yujiro because he's the main character of his series. Like Yujiro, Baki's the main character of the series Yujiro's from. Another feat, Kenshiro stopped a train, with like just a few fingers. I think that was just in the anime only, but like I said, I kind of like to count the anime because I think I prefer the anime to the manga for a couple of reasons. But so he's got all sorts of feats like that. He ripped through like a bomb shelter easily, that's in the manga toward the end. He's got all sorts of the feats like that he's done. One thing that the two have a lot in common is that both will hold back a lot against their opponents in the beginning stages of the fights that they have. This fight is pretty interesting to me because, unlike the Goku Superman fight, like if they both existed in the same world, would they fight? Maybe they would spar, but it wouldn't be like a serious fight. If these two were in the same world, though, they would definitely come into contact and have to fight each other. Because Yujiro's just a really bad guy, and Kenshiro's just a big good guy. Although he is pretty ruthless towards his enemies at times. All right, let's talk a little bit then about the fight itself. Now, technically, I don't think Yujiro will have any knowledge of the Honto Shinken, and Kenshiro probably won't have much knowledge of him, except that he's a troublemaker and that he's bad, basically. And I guess they'll both know that the other one's kind of tough. They can kind of probably sense that about each other, being top-notch martial artists. It's usually something they can normally do in animes, mangas, and all sorts of fictional work. If Yujiro should have knowledge of how Honto Shinken works, that could definitely improve his chances of winning if he knew what Ken was doing, kind of. But technically, that's kind of a big part of martial arts, is not knowing, what the other guy's techniques or moves. I remember that movie, The Forbidden Kingdom, the one with Jet Li and Jackie Chan. It was an okay movie. The CGI annoyed me a little bit, but the part where the Monkey King's fighting the main bad guy in it, and Monkey King seems to be untouchable to him, but he manages to trick the Monkey King into giving up his staff, which leaves him vulnerable to his magic or something. And so he ends up winning, and he even tells the Monkey King shakes his finger at him, kind of that was it was a dirty move or something like that. But the guy walks up to him and tells him martial arts are all about deceit. And and I have to agree, that was part of the movie I really liked a lot. The bad guy was smart and managed to outwit the most powerful character in it, and he beat him all by himself. There's no outside interference from him. It was his technique and his strategy that took him down with no one else interfering. So that's the way I think these fights usually work, is they don't really have much knowledge of the other. Unless there could be some exceptions, but for the most part, I like to do these without them really knowing a lot, having much knowledge of the other. But for this fight, I'm not even worried. Even if we gave Yujiro the knowledge of how to of Kenshiro's techniques, or at least that he knew that he could kill, but he doesn't necessarily know Honto Shinken, he still wouldn't. He'd have a big problem with the Muso Tensen technique of Ken's, the one where he becomes, intangible physical attacks. Basically, with that, Yujiro really can't win. I don't know. He did a lot of energy attacks. I don't know if Ken's vulnerable to those in that form or not. I don't. It's kind of hard to say. But still, Ken would, I think, trounce him pretty easily if he had that. But let's just. But we can take that one away from him because that technique's kind of. It's OP. It's too much, kind of. And Yujiro wouldn't be able to learn that. I don't think. He doesn't really seem like someone who sympathizes with his opponents at all, or feels sorry for anyone really. He's kind of just a ruthless, jerk really. Other things to look into is who's faster. I don't really know. They're both really fast. I kind of feel like I want to say Kenshiro is, and technically a little bit of bias plays into any versus fight. I try not to be, try not to bring that in, but it's almost it can't be helped a lot of times with when you're doing these kind of fights. But that's just the way it is. I mean, it's the same in real life too. When you're looking at people looking at sports teams, and a lot of times they'll think their sports team's going to win. Sometimes they'll know the other team's better, but a lot of times, even if it's fairly close, or they'll often they'll think the strengths of their team are better than the strengths of the other, and that's why a lot of times they'll think their team will win. So they won't often judge in a completely unbiased way. And I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I'll probably, I definitely I like Kenshiro more than Yujiro, so I want him to win. But I think he would win too. I'm gonna try to be a little bit unbiased. But I think Kenshiro would beat Yujiro, especially if he's at his strongest, at the end of the manga. So they're both fast. I think Kenshiro is personally faster. Just seeing his feet, it looked like he was the guy that could practically teleport, but I don't know if he was really teleporting. What else? I think Kenshiro is personally stronger too. Stopping the train was pretty impressive. The Yujiro can do a lot too. Yujiro, they made a big deal about Yujiro snatching that arrow, but Ken catches arrows they have a technique and that he can catch arrows. He did it against Spade and threw the arrow right back through the guy's eye, like it was nothing. So I think Kenshiro is faster. I think he has better reflexes. Personally, durability is a big one. I think this one definitely favors Kenshiro. Yujiro stand there and took shots from some really heavy hitters, but still there's other things where what was it? I think Baki and he's fighting that big Neanderthal kind of guy in some of the ogre storyline, and I think they fell from a certain height, and that took a lot. It hurt when they hit, and I don't see that hurting people from Fist of the North Star really, like Kenshiro or Rao, or I should say, I don't see that hurting the Honto Shinken practitioners because of their just insane durability. I think this is I think a fairly easy win for Ken to some degree. Yujiro can maybe put up a fight, but I think Ken's just going to beat him. I mean, he just has to touch him. Even if Yujiro thinks he's blocking, he could be hitting a pressure point and killing him. So I think this one's definitely got to go to Kenshiro, especially if Yujiro doesn't have any knowledge, if Ken gets all his abilities, that he has at the end of the manga. There's other scenes too where Yujiro gets Yujiro gets hurt, where you feel like he's not quite as invincible, as you always maybe have thought he was. But I wanted to use Yujiro again against another Fist of the North Star type character. But the thing is, I just wanted to fight someone that's not from Honto Shinken. I think this would be a lot more interesting. I gave him this fight because, it was a fight against the strongest, but he just doesn't quite measure up, in my opinion. But against a character like, Juzo, who doesn't have, the quite instant kill, he uses more of a grappling style, but was still, great and gave Rao, a really good fight. That would be an interesting fight, maybe against a Nanto Seiken practitioner, because they have guys with techniques that deal with cutting into people in Baki. So there's some opponents I'd like to put him up against in Fist of the North Star still. Alright, so the winner's Kenshiro. I'll try to come up with some other opponents for Yujiro. Maybe let him run a gauntlet. I'm going to start doing some comic book reviews too. Let me know what you guys think of this fight in the comment, and let me know if you have any fights you want me to do. That's all. Thanks.